What I see is that the transactional volume is picking up right now, so we are seeing more and more deals coming in. We are also very busy right now, so working on several different transactions. And what I see is that conversional real estate, so like conversioning existing offices to resi or to hospitality, is something very popular among our clients. And the other one is mainly land acquisitions, like plots for resi development, because the Hungarian state has introduced a new equity subsidy program, and this can be a good source for developers to start new resi projects. This is mainly the aim of the whole project. We have been seeing over the last, I would say now even more than 10 years, a decreasing number of international players on the Hungarian market. We are still lacking, I think, international players and international money. Last year, the only German player who entered the Hungarian market purchased an office building. We have advised on that transaction. But otherwise, I would say that we have some clients from the region, so other CEE countries, based in other CEE countries, who are quite active in Hungary as well. But what I see is that the main trend is that we work for real estate funds from Hungary and from across CEE who are raising money in the region and are looking at like mid-size deals. Developers in Hungary are now looking at the program, and I think it is a well-established program in a term that you also find the financing source. On the other hand, you see the subsidized loans for the individual owners who are the main target to buy the flats at the end of the project. The purchase price is limited in terms of square meter, which I find actually good, because this is the aim of the project, to help housing. And I see that a lot of new projects are starting now due to that change, and there is also a change in the regulation that basically you can much easier change the zoning of a certain project if you apply for it and if you promise that at least 70% of the flats will be sold within this scheme. This can also be very helpful, because we see like a lot of industrial areas which are actually in good location for resi as well, and developers are considering that locations for resi, but it has always been like really challenging to change the use of that areas. And with this new regulation, it is much easier to apply for that. So I'm quite positive, but honestly, personally, I believe more in the future of PRS sector. So I think like the housing problem of the region will boost or accelerate the development of private rented sector as well, because simply for the population in general to afford to buy flats won't be a realistic option. That's why I find it important to develop like buildings for rent. On the one hand, we see a very big freedom in terms of regulation, because it is not actually regulated. But this is also an obstacle for the development. I know that those who are coming from the commercial part of the deal are saying that the biggest issue is that it is hard to make these projects profitable, because you can't find good yields on that market. So if you compare it to the Western European markets, it is almost similar. So why would then, like institutional money come to our region to invest in that kind of products? But on the other hand, I think that if the regime or the legislation could be changed in a way that would boost, like longer term leases in Hungary or in the region, that could help a lot. On the one hand, it could be a realistic alternative for living, because right now in Hungary, for example, it is not regulated, but generally the contracts are concluded for 1 year. This is, I personally believe, a bad compromise of the landlords and the tenants. The landlords are always afraid that the tenants would not pay the rent and would not leave the flat, but that's the reason why the tenants can't really feel at home in these kind of properties. So, and everyone thinks that, okay, my housing is only, ensured if I buy something, but if imagine if someone could conclude a contract for longer term, like 3 or 5 years, and there would be any kind of state subsidy as well. If you rent it for a longer term, then you can benefit. It could make much more realistic for that kind of projects. And once we have, the long-term tenant in the building, once we can deal with the maintenance, and if you keep it in one hand, why would you not be able? So it's more similar like to offices or other kind of real estates. Then you have the value, and you can basically sell the building based on the value, because that's why institutional money is not coming into that sector right now, because the product is not there.